Welcome to Stamps Old World UK. Today, we are diving into the fascinating story of one of the most iconic American postage stamps ever produced. The stamp you are seeing is the bright red 2-cent United States Washington stamp, issued in the early 20th century. Featuring a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, this stamp is one of the most widely recognized classic American stamps and holds a very special place in philatelic history. Collectors around the globe still seek out this stamp for its historical significance, its beautiful engraving, and, of course, its connection to the heritage of early American postal history. This stamp, printed in a deep carmine red color, was produced in extremely high quantities because it represented the standard letter rate of 2 cents in the United States during that period. Millions upon millions of these stamps were printed and circulated, which means that many examples are still in existence today. However, the condition, the printing variety, and the specific design version can make an enormous difference in the value of the stamp on the modern market. While common used examples may only sell for a few cents to a few dollars, the rare varieties, misprints, or stamps in exceptional mint condition can reach significantly higher prices. Collectors often pay close attention to details, such as perforations, paper quality, and printing differences when evaluating this Washington 2-cent stamp. For instance, certain printing errors, such as the rare Rotary Press variations, inverted watermarks, or double impressions, can push the value from just a few dollars into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One particularly famous error, known as the 2-cent Rotary Press Type 1, is a highly sought-after rarity in the stamp collecting community, and depending on condition, it can fetch anywhere from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands at auction. When talking about market value today, it is important to highlight the difference between an ordinary collector piece and a true rarity. A typical used Washington 2-cent stamp, like the one in front of us, if it is in average circulated condition, may be valued anywhere from 25 cents up to $5, depending on the dealer and the buyer. Mint condition examples, especially those with original gum and no hinge marks, usually range from $10 up to $50. If you have a plate block, which is a small sheet of stamps with the margin showing the plate number, the value could be higher, sometimes reaching into the low hundreds, depending on rarity. But the real excitement comes when we move into the territory of printing errors and unusual varieties. That is where the price can skyrocket. Auction houses and online platforms such as eBay, Heritage Auctions, and Siegel Auctions regularly feature these stamps, and it is not unusual to see specialized varieties fetching thousands of dollars. For example, a 2-cent Washington Rotary Press rare variety in pristine condition has been known to sell for over $15,000. This shows just how much potential value can be hidden in what many people assume is just a common old red stamp. For collectors in the United Kingdom and worldwide, the Washington 2-cent stamp represents more than just a piece of American history. It is also a symbol of the golden age of stamp engraving and printing. The artistry involved in producing these stamps was remarkable, with incredible detail and craftsmanship. That is one reason why philatelists continue to treasure these items and dedicate years of study to identifying varieties and cataloging each edition. Catalogs such as Scott, Stanley Gibbons, and Michelle provide detailed references that allow collectors to differentiate between the many versions and determine accurate market values. The best advice for anyone holding one of these stamps today is to carefully examine it under magnification, check the perforations, look for watermark differences, and verify whether it is a flat plate printing or a rotary press version. These small technical details are what separate a common $2 stamp from a highly prized rarity worth thousands. If you believe you might have a special variety, consulting a professional stamp dealer or sending the stamp for certification to a trusted philatelic society is always a wise step. Certification can dramatically increase the confidence of buyers and therefore raise the final selling price. In today's market, with collectors always seeking historic and iconic stamps, the Washington 2-cent remains a staple. Its common forms are affordable enough for beginner collectors to enjoy, while its rare varieties keep advanced collectors on the hunt for decades. This balance of accessibility and rarity is what keeps the market active and ensures that the Washington 2-cent will always hold a strong place in stamp collecting culture. At Stamps Old World UK, our mission is to bring you deep insights into stamps like this one, sharing not only their history, but also their current market value and relevance. Whether you are a casual collector, a serious philatelist, or simply someone fascinated by history preserved in miniature art form, the Washington 2-cent stamp has something to offer. It reminds us that even the smallest pieces of paper can carry immense historical and monetary value.
Next up, the red 2-cent George Washington. This is not the same design we discussed earlier, but part of the famous Washington Franklin series that defined United States postage during the early 20th century. The design is striking in its simplicity, showing George Washington in profile, surrounded by an ornate frame and a laurel wreath, with the bold words U.S. postage across the top. This stamp is instantly recognizable and has become a cornerstone of American philately. The Washington Franklin series, which ran from 1908 until 1922, is one of the most complex and challenging sets of stamps ever issued by the United States. Collectors love it not only because of the beautiful engraving, but also because of the many varieties, printings, and subtle details that distinguish one issue from another. The 2-cent denomination was one of the most heavily used stamps because it represented the standard first-class postage rate at the time. That means millions upon millions were printed, but at the same time, certain printings and variations are much scarcer than others, which creates a wide range of values in today's market. At first glance, many of these stamps look identical. However, the difference between a common stamp worth only a few cents and a rare gem worth thousands of dollars lies in the details. For example, collectors examined the type of perforations, whether the stamp was printed on flat plate or rotary press, the presence of watermarks, and even subtle shifts in design size. A rotary press stamp may be slightly taller or wider than its flat plate counterpart, and that difference alone can make the stamp worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if it is a scarce type. One of the most famous rarities from the Washington Franklin 2-cent issues is the so-called Rotary Press Type 2 variety. Because it was produced in limited numbers, today it is one of the most sought-after errors, often fetching auction prices in the tens of thousands of dollars. Another key factor that can make these stamps valuable is condition. A mint condition stamp with original gum, no hinge marks, and perfect centering can command far higher prices than one that is heavily canceled, off-center, or damaged. In today's collector market, the ordinary used 2-cent Washington Franklin stamp, like the one many people might find in an old family album, usually sells for a very modest price, often between 25 cents and $2. These stamps are extremely common because so many were printed and used. However, if you are lucky enough to have one in mint condition with no flaws, the value might rise into the range of $10 to $50. Now, if you discover that you have a rare perforation variety, a scarce watermark, or a rotary press printing, the story changes dramatically. Such stamps can sell anywhere from several $100s all the way up to tens of thousands, depending on rarity and condition. Collectors worldwide remain fascinated by the Washington Franklin series because of this very complexity. It's almost like a puzzle waiting to be solved, with each small detail telling you something new about the stamp in your hand. That is why philatelists often use magnifying glasses, perforation gauges, and watermark detectors when working with these issues. Identifying the exact type can take time and patience, but the reward is discovering that you may have something far rarer than it first appeared. Auction houses and major philatelic dealers regularly offer Washington Franklin issues, and the rare 2-cent varieties remain some of the most hotly contested items. In fact, auction records show that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for certain Rotary Press types in pristine condition. This keeps demand high and ensures that these stamps remain an exciting area of study and investment. For collectors in the United Kingdom and beyond, the Washington Franklin 2-cent stamp is more than just a small piece of American history. It is also a testament to the artistry of early stamp design and printing. The engraving of George Washington is elegant and refined, capturing the spirit of America's founding father, and the intricate frame design reflects the craftsmanship of a bygone era. Holding one of these stamps is like holding a miniature work of art that has survived for over a century. If you own one of these stamps, the best step you can take is to carefully research it, check for perforation counts, compare the size of the design, and look for watermarks. Resources such as the Scott Catalog or Stanley Gibbons Guide can help you identify the exact type. If you suspect you may have a rare variety, it is always worthwhile to have it examined and certified by a professional philatelic society. Certification provides proof of authenticity and can dramatically increase the market value of your stamp. In conclusion, the 2-cent Washington Franklin stamp is both common and rare at the same time. Common in the sense that millions were printed and many survive today, but rare in the sense that certain types are scarce and highly valuable. This dual nature is what makes collecting these stamps so exciting. Whether you have a simple used example worth a few cents or a rare Rotary Press type worth thousands of dollars, each stamp carries a piece of history and tells a story of America's past postal. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the world of the Washington 2-cent stamp here at Stamps Old World UK. If you found this exploration helpful and interesting, please support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with your fellow collectors. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the fascinating world of philately, where we uncover the history and market value of stamps from across the globe. Remember, every stamp has a story, and sometimes that story is worth far more than you could ever imagine.